Doing business in Africa comes with its challenges. Of course, there is nowhere in the world where you do business without facing challenges. Africa is a very complex market. Africa is a dynamic market that needs a dynamic approach when dealing with Africa. One of the challenges that you're going to face when you want to expand your business, especially in the domain of FMCG and pharmaceutical in Africa, is licensing. Of course, you are not authorized to sell your product in whatever market in the world without licensing those products in that market. For example, if you want to enter Nigeria, if you want to enter Kenya, Ghana, you need a license in Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana to sell your product. And today, I'm going to talk about 5 things that you must understand before you license your product in Africa. I am Jean-Claude Agbotem. I'm a business consultant and market entry expert. I help you enter, develop, and scale your product in Africa, be it in the domain of FMCG, pharmaceutical, or whatever other domain that you feel I can intervene. I'm available. You can always reach me through the numbers that are showing. Today, I'm talking to you about 5 things you must understand as far as product licensing is concerned in Africa. The first thing you must understand when you think about licensing your product in Africa is that licensing in Africa is country specific. Yes, let me explain. There is no African license system whereby if you license your product in one country, you can sell in all the countries. Maybe we'll arrive at that, but for the meantime, there isn't. So if you're coming to Africa and you want to get your product sold in different African countries, you will need different licenses. For example, if you are licensing your product in Nigeria and you want to sell that same product in Benin, Togo, Ghana, Ivory Coast, etc., you also need another license in Benin. You also need another license in Togo. This is very important for you to understand so that you know what particular market you must understand before you venture into licensing. The second thing you must understand about licensing in African countries is that whoever's name is mentioned on the license owns the product in that territory, not the brand. You may own your brand. For example, you're coming from China, you're coming from India, you're coming from whatever country to Nigeria. And if you want to license your product in Nigeria and you decide to have a distributor in Nigeria license that product for you, that is, if the distributor puts his or her name on the license, the distributor will own that product in Nigeria so far as the license is valid. So, and that is why I always advise product owners not to make this error. It is an error. I've done a video about this. It is an error for you to allow a distributor to own the license in your country of interest. So if you want to license your product in whatever country, start first by understanding the corporate documents that you need to get that product licensed in that territory. Don't make the error of making someone put his company name on the license, because you will not have authority over that product in that territory. The third thing you must understand as far as licensing in Africa is concerned is that timelines are almost always longer than the official timeline. For example, if you want to register your product in any country, they may tell you that The timeline is 3 months, the timeline is 4 months, the timeline is 6 months, but put in mind that from 6 months you may go to a year or even more. So it is always important to understand, because in Africa there are a lot of complexities that can make you spend much time on something that you would have spent little time. You must also understand, in Africa, bureaucracy takes a lot of time. And when we talk about product licensing, we talk about bureaucracy, and we talk about other aspects, administrative aspect, that takes much time than the other. In some cases, why not? The timeline may be respected, but it is always important for you to note that it is going to take much more longer and take lesser time than for you to feel that you're going to take the exact time that is mentioned on the documents. Then it ends up taking much more time. I always say this so that when you're planning your product launch, because sometimes when I ask some people who reach out, some customers who reach out to me to assist them in launching their products in Africa, and when I ask them, what period do you want to get your product launched? Some will say 3 months, some will say 4 months, and I always say it's impossible, because 4 months you may not even have gotten the license to launch your product, even though it is written in some cases that you take 1 month, but the timeline specified on licensing documentation is not always respected in African countries. The fourth thing to understand is that local sampling testing and requirement can force you to reformulate your product. Yes, when you are the product as it is accepted in your country may not be accepted in one country or another. You may have a product that is accepted in Kenya and you have the license, and when you want to get it licensed in Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, they may ask you to reformulate your product. So you have to be flexible. And this is an aspect which is very important in product development in Africa, flexibility. I always advise product owners and manufacturers that when you are bringing your product to the African market, you should be flexible enough. Don't be so rigid to say, no, this is the way this product is being produced in India, this is the way this product is being produced in America, so I cannot change anything. If you have that mindset, if you have that perspective, then you're going to have a lot of challenges in Africa. Not just for the licensing, but even the market demand too. Because it's just unfortunate that a lot of people who are not flexible don't carry out a serious market survey. Because if you carry out a serious market survey and assessment, you're going to have information that will make you to reformulate your product. You are going to change a lot of things because you have to adapt to the market reality. And that's what we call about localization. So you should be ready to localize your product. And sometimes it starts from the licensing. The testing authority, the sampling requirement can force product reformulation. And you have to do it if you are interested in the market. Otherwise, you won't be able to license your product for that particular market. The fifth thing you must understand is the number one of everything. Yes, in Africa, licensing cost is not just the application fee. Yes, we have to be very sincere and open as far as licensing is concerned. Listen, in Africa, the licensing fee that you pay to the state authorities, to the state coffer, may be $1,000. But don't just budget that. There are a lot of other small money that you spend to get that license. And sometimes, even back pocket, as we call it in Africa. Sometimes you have to pay some people to facilitate your licensing project. And so you may go on official website and see that to license a product, you need to spend $2,000, you need to spend $5,000, but bear you in mind that you may spend double of that, because sometimes you must understand too that in Africa, anything that has to do with licensing has to do with bribery and corruption. It's not only in one country, almost every country. I have been opportune to do licensing, product licensing in different countries in Africa, and I will tell you that it has the same system. So you must understand this and be ready to spend more. Probably your local licensing partner may tell you that, okay, to license this product, you're going to spend $10,000, and then you see on the official website, you see that it is written $4,000, and you are like, why is he asking me for $10,000? And you feel that he's lying. No, he's not lying. There are other hidden costs that you bear when you are licensing your product in Africa. For your license partner to tell you much more than what you saw on the website is not lie. It is because there is the official and unofficial cost that you bear when you are getting your product registered in any African country. Now that you've understood the 5 things that you must take into consideration when you're coming to get your product registered in African country, feel free to reach out to me at any time. If you want to expand your product in any African country, you are open, reach out to me and let's see how we can talk. I will guide you through the process, and then I'll make sure that my team works with you to ensure that you get the best of your product developed in any African country of your choice. Until then, see you next week for another session of business in Africa.